Well, my name is Julius.
Sure.
I report for the Ghanaian Times. Mr. Minister, early this year, somewhere on the 5th, former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, was detained by ICE, a U.S. agency in charge of immigration. This is a man the state has been looking for. Are we taking advantage of his detention? Is the government of Ghana engaging the American authorities to sanitize the space and take advantage of he being held there and then have him extradited to Ghana? And then secondly, there is one big elephant in the room that we don't normally talk about, which has to do with rent issues here in the country. The rent laws are very clear, but you see landlords colluding with agents and then abusing the law. What's government's position on this, and how are you going to ensure that these laws are enforced to give people some reprieve that they need? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So on the back of the Ofori-Atta question, I just wanted to ask this. The agreement we had with the United States of America on deportation, I wanted to know how many deportees we've received, how many we've repatriated, and if there were some who wanted to stay here, we're still sending them away. Thank you.
Right.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Minister. My name is Patrick Asford Buedu, Radio Gold. I just want to find out from you if you have any updates or how far with investigation. If you could remember, early last year, some gold bars were seized by security operatives at the airport. I just want to find out if there is any updates or how far with investigation, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Reverend sought to find out the status of a name change of the Jubilee House. Reverend, the simple answer to that is that I have not been apprised of a name change. If that happens, we would inform the Ghanaian public accordingly. But President Obama continues to discharge his responsibilities, which, among others, aims to make life more comfortable for the people of Ghana and develop our country on a sustainable trajectory. The troops in Jamaica are doing well. So far, we've not had any adverse reports. I'm also not aware of any specific request to increase the numbers. If that should happen, I'm sure the appropriate authorities would examine the request, and if it is something that they can respond to, they will indicate same. No scandal or corruption. The point is that corruption scandals don't happen in and of themselves. Often it is a lack of controls that lead to corruption and abuse of office for personal gain. So if you have a system where no proper systems are put in place to check this, human nature is such that the tendency will be for people to be tempted to engage in that kind of activity. So President Obama has been aware of this from day one. That's why he launched the Code of Conduct for Public Officials who work under him. That's why he insisted by a certain date, everybody should file their asset declaration forms with the Auditor General. And then he has introduced what we call commitment authorization. In other words, you agree that most corruption scandals stem out of procurement. The desire for public officials to engage in procurement, that's where the bulk of corruption occurs. So there must be a system that checks this. And the president has established the commitment authorization through the finance minister. So every procurement within a certain threshold that needs to be done must obtain commitment authorization. If you don't get it, the finance minister is simply not going to pay. That is what it means. Through that process, you are then able to scrutinize the request for procurement, the processes, and flag any unlawful acts or any acts that have the likelihood to lead to corruption. So you can stem the activity even before it occurs. But that happens if you have strict oversight, and that is currently what is happening. That is why you don't find corruption happening, because you are not at liberty to do as you please. You must go through a system that is robust to check any excesses. You recall that the minister also announced the setting up of the Value for Money Office, which will be a body set up to look into the value of all government procurement. So that when you say that this pen costs 100 cedis, it is examined to ascertain whether or not it is true that the true value of this pen is 100 cedis. That office will also provide an additional layer of scrutiny and checks and balances on public procurement. So Corruption is fought through a systems approach. It is not ad hoc. It is not by bold and lofty declarations. It has to be done through firm action. And that is what is happening. So these systems will continue to be strengthened. The president has also indicated that even if somebody is able to slip through this robust and watertight arrangement, he will take swift action to ensure that even as we hold past public officials accountable, officials in this government will be held accountable. In fact, it is the most important aspect of the fight against corruption, to be able to deal with corruption in one's own government. If that is done, you wouldn't even need to pursue former government officials, because the accountability system is such that once it occurs, it will be addressed. That is what President Mahama seeks to set up in the period that he remains government. Of course, the affirmative action law is dear to President Mahama's heart, and he consistently works to ensure that it comes to fruition and that all the provisions in there are adhered to, so that our women folk take their rightful place in the efforts to build Ghana, and they make their deserved contribution. The Commander Sugar Factory is still being worked on. It is important to carry out an assessment of the state of the factory. The intent was for sugar to be produced there, so that we cut down on the large volumes of sugar imports as a way of even addressing the problems with the exchange, because you need foreign currency to be able to do this importation if it is coming from outside the country. So the Commander Sugar Factory was set up to abridge that gap. Unfortunately, we finished setting it up just before we left office in 2016. What was left was for the cultivation of a plantation and then a system to offtake from outgrowers to feed the factory. The MPP failed to do that and left the factory in a state of disrepair. Once we took over, it was necessary to assess the situation and look for the best approach to get the factory to become operational. I'm confident that the trade minister, when she takes a turn at this program next week, will shed light on the status of the Commander Sugar Factory and indicate clearly what government is doing to bring it back to fruition. Let me indicate that there's no office of prophecy. What it is that there's a designated official who liaises with the religious community, because it's an important section of society, and the government has to be sensitive to the beliefs and aspirations of its people. So there's an officer who has the mandate to liaise with religious organizations. For a long time, the Ghanaian public has become concerned about the proliferation of prophecies, especially on the 31st December, and all manner of claims are made, some of which sometimes defy understanding and what have you. It was important to put in place a structured system so that whatever claims are made are examined, so that people do not use that as an avenue to create needless panic and exploit people, what have you. So that is what it is about. It is not an office dedicated to prophecy, no. It's an office dedicated to maintaining relations between governments and an important section of society, which is the religious community. That is what it is. Ofori-Atta, like all public officials, we are subject to scrutiny. So whether you are in government or outside government, once you have served in public office, you must be open to scrutiny and accountability. There are many public officials, including some who served under President Mahama during his first tenure, who were subjected to all manner of judicial processes with a view to exerting accountability from them. And Mr. Ofori-Atta was in government when that happened. So I see no reason why he should seek to evade accountability when similar questions are. Indeed, President Mahama himself was a subject of investigations. I'm sure you remember that. And he subjected himself to investigations. He was interviewed by the special prosecutor. Eventually, it was found that the allegations were unfounded and nothing untoward had happened in that particular matter. So he is working a free man. So if Ofori-Atta is confident that indeed he has done nothing untoward, I think that he should avail himself to the appropriate authorities to carry out their investigations. Indeed, the Attorney General has indicated that he has sent a formal extradition request to the authorities in the United States of America who are processing it. Along the line, because of the concerns raised by the Ghanaian government, I think that his visa was revoked, which then made it an issue for ICE. So he is currently in detention. We are aware that on the 20th of this month he will be appearing in court. Depending on the outcome of the court proceedings, I think that the appropriate steps will be taken. But the Ghanaian government is interested in holding all public officials to account. And if the investigative authorities believe that there's a basis to investigate you, I think they should be encouraged to carry out that investigation. Rents, the rent laws and abuse and exploitation, I think is a worrying situation. That's why President Rama committed himself to social housing. And it's a policy that will be rolled out in the time that he is president. To first of all, increase the housing stock, which then also, in classical economic terms, beats down the prices. That will be in addition to strict enforcement of the rent laws, so that tenants are not exploited by house owners and landlords who want to engage in rent-seeking behavior. And then the repatriation of Ghanaians. Again, I think that the deportation of Ghanaians and other West African nationals, yes. I think that the foreign minister who appeared on this platform a couple of months ago explained that there's some understanding that was reached with the American government that we will only accept West African nationals who have no criminal record, because the ECOWAS protocols indeed allow West African nationals to come to Ghana and stay for a definite period, after which they can leave and come back. So there's really nothing untoward about having ECOWAS citizens in Ghana. Once they come, arrangements are made to send them to their respective countries. And as far as I know, that has been done. As and when they come, they are processed and sent to their countries of origin. And there's really no difficulty as we speak with that arrangement. In terms of the specific numbers, I think that an update can be obtained from the foreign ministry, and I'll be more than happy to put it out once that update becomes available. Thank you very much. Yes, the Media Development Fund is something that we are mulling. We've had challenges with it in the past. It was well intentioned to assist the media, as the name implies, to develop and take care of some welfare issues of journalists. But it ran into some difficulties. We've learned lessons from that, so we are currently engaged in discussions and efforts to revitalize it, so that when it comes back, it serves a more useful purpose than before. Which question was that? Well, I can get an update for you from the National Security Secretariat, yes. Last question, yeah. Microphone, yeah.
If you can spare some moments and speak about the fight against Galamsey. The first year of your government.
Yes, I think significant efforts.
Damos and the rest.
Yes, in fact,
tell us something. What
only this morning I woke up
of the water and all of that.
I woke up this morning to a briefing by NIMOS on some action that they have taken against Ghana, and they do it on a daily basis. Significant gains have been made since we came to power. When we came to power, around this time last year, there were 9 forest reserves that were under the control of bandits, non-state actors. As I speak, those 9 forest reserves have been reclaimed by government. The infamous LI 2462 now stands revoked, and further effort will be made to tighten the laws in the Mining and Mineral Act to make it impossible for anybody to mine in a forest reserve. Thousands of persons who are engaged in illegal mining are in custody. There are some of them who are actually standing trial. Others have dockets being prepared on them. The Attorney General and Minister for Justice is working towards setting up special courts. Indeed, Cabinet has considered the introduction of the tribunals. That is one of the ways that we can hasten the prosecution process without, of course, compromising due process and unfairly undermining the rights of accused persons. But when that happens, it will hasten the process. There is now a process to regulate the influx of excavators, so that you cannot just get up and go and import an excavator under the pretext of engaging in lawful activity, only for it to end up in illegal mining. So the system has been put in place to curb it. Excavators have actually been seized and destroyed. Others are under the custody of the security agencies. We have seized shamfans, we have seized water pumps and donated same to farmers to use for lawful activity and water. So a lot of work has been done. But of course, we are the first to admit that more needs to be done, especially to bring back our water bodies to the desirable quality that will be safe for human consumption. That will be achieved. But NIMOS remains the arrowhead through which government is pursuing this unlawful activity that we call Galamsey, which has become a threat to all of us. Thank you very much. So, in the interest, Akos, okay, I'll give you a special dispensation.
Thank you.
Affirmative action.
You were bold enough to mention that the previous government had about over 300 staff at the presidency. I want to know concrete figures. How many staff do we have here?
I can tell you for free
at the
that the numbers here are far less, far less. Indeed, we are required by law this quarter, I think by March or so, to present the list to Parliament. So you will see. I think that the numbers are being compiled, but I know for a fact that it is far less than what we inherited from the previous administration. And when it goes, you will see it, yes. Thank you very much. So let me draw the curtains down on today's edition. This one was interactive in nature, but next week we will revert to the format where sector ministers come and brief. So expect the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, and then the Minister for Local Government. Thank you all for coming.